Okay, let's start with the elephant in the room, and I say one day I'm going to have a big enough budget where an elephant actually comes into the room and I ride the elephant, and it will be the greatest day of all time. Anyway, that's not the point right now. It certainly does seem like there was some kind of global pandemic, we don't say the word here, that ran wild throughout AEW, which is why a lot of storylines and a lot of people were just not on the show. This is just the world we live in. This is just life in 2020. It absolutely sucks, and I just hope that everybody is okay. But we had to talk about it, so we talked about it. Also, thank you very much to everybody that voted in this week's Retro Ups and Downs poll. Finally, WrestleMania 17 won, because if it hadn't, I was going to remove it, because it always got upvoted in the suggestions, but then nobody actually backed that horse when it came down to it. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow at 2 p.m. BST. But for now, get your own finger of power, whatever that means, and let's up those downs for AEW Dynamite. Dynamite started with a graphic for Road Warrior Animal, who very sadly passed away yesterday, and that one absolutely sucks. Without doubt, one half of one of the greatest tag teams ever just kind of punched me in the gut. I was like, man, getting old just sucks, it's the worst. So, thoughts with his friends and family. Thankfully, there was a nice bit of respite, because the first match we saw on this week's episode of the show was Miro teaming up with Kip Sabian to take on Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. And yeah, let's not pretend otherwise. I love this man. I want to marry him, and he's all into weddings. We know that. He's getting it up. And I thought the whole match was designed to play to his strengths too, quite literally. Because what would happen is that Kip Sabian would tag him in, Miro would grab someone, just chuck them around, go, rah! And it reminded me that he's an absolute badass, because I'd kind of forgotten all about that in WWE, because he was just in all those weird skits, and I enjoyed those weird skits, but you gotta have the in-ring chops. He does. And yes, I will say this wasn't the greatest tag team match we've ever seen in AEW, but I enjoyed it, and I also think that Sonny Kiss is a star in the making. On top of that, at one stage, Excalibur went, well, we'll have to see what kind of chemistry Miro and Kip Sabian have, and see if it matches up to their chemistry on Call of Duty Warzone. 2020 is just the craziest 12-month period ever. Now we're talking about flipping Warzone on mainstream wrestling TV. It finished when Miro locked in the former Accolade, now known as Game Over, onto Sonny Kiss, who tapped out. And it was quite funny, because JR just shouted, oh, it's the Accolade. And Excalibur's like, no, we don't call it that here. It's called Game Over, you son of a gun. And once again, this is what we had to do. I would remove Miro from the tag team division as soon as I can and put him on a singles tear. I enjoyed it muchly, because yes, I'm kind of biased. Not really, I'm just a fan. Eddie Kingston then just came sauntering out, and this is where we got our first major change of the evening, because yes, as Excalibur mentioned on commentary, Lance Archer has come down with the virus, so he now has to self-isolate for a couple of weeks. Isn't it just nice when your announced teams tell you the truth? We all know what's going on. You don't have to tiptoe around and pretend it's some kind of ghost that we're not aware of. We are. Anyway, it did mean that All Elite Wrestling's back was against the wall. And what do you do when your back is against a wall? You make an impromptu AEW World Title match. It's going to be Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. This was clearly going to be the plan after Mox had dealt with the Murder Hawk, but we had to speed things up for obvious reasons. And Eddie Kingston just grabbed a microphone and cut a promo that was so good, so believable, and so full of fire, I sat there on my stupid ass with my stupid bald head and actually thought to myself, maybe Eddie Kingston should become the AEW champion. What a moronic thing to say, but I meant it. He then accused Mox of being a massive sellout because he went and sports entertained for a while, and when he demanded that the champion faced him, obviously Jon Moxley came out because he's a crazy person too, and if it wasn't for all the security personnel, who the hell knows what would have happened. But of course, we had to do something to get you all hyped up for this, because there'd been no time to hype it beforehand, and I was so excited. How did this even happen? Just Eddie Kingston, I don't think he knows wrestling is fake up. He also just can't get enough of the Hangman Page and Kenny Omega storyline. I guess I just like a good angle up. Page was taking on Evil Uno here, and just quickly shout out to that guy, because isn't he just great? Yes, he is, but Kenny Omega once again was on commentary, and this was like some kind of relationship that has broken up, but the dude who did the breaking up can't let it go. Because if Kenny is a singles guy, why does he keep coming out to look at his former beau? I tell you this though, one day soon, he is going to wreck his former friend worse than Roman Reigns is going to wreck Jey Uso at this Sunday's Clash of Champions. Oh man, I think we got to see a murder. Otherwise, this was fine, a really fun match where obviously you kind of figured that Hangman Adam Page was going to win, and he did after hitting the buckshot lariat. And I got really worried about Evil Uno, like I was his dad, because I was like, oh man, Brodie Lee's not going to like this. He can't hand losing at all. But yeah, we are still heading towards something with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. And I think it is going to be a massive explosion. The Young Bucks then broke Tony Schiavone's phone. And you have no idea how much I laughed. They're just a couple of penises. I really shouldn't bring Nick Jackson into this because this was all down to Matt Jackson, who was indeed being interviewed by Schiavone. And when Tony started to mention the likes of Private Party, SCU, and of course FTR, Matt just got all uncomfortable. He said, give me your phone. Give me your phone, pal. He got it and he smashed it into a million pieces. It was so entertaining though, and I don't know why I shouldn't want to see Tony Schiavone's phone get broken, but apparently I do, so what does that say about me? And once again, round of applause to AEW, because the guy that caused all of this was Hangman Adam Page, but that's the guy I have the most amount of sympathy for. How does that work? It's like getting a Christmas card on the 13th of April. You'd be like, what the flub is going on? And then it was time for Orange Cassidy versus Brodie Lee for the TNT title. I made the mistake of going on Twitter this morning, and everyone's like, this was rubbish, this was crap, poor Orange Cassidy. But I, unfortunately for them, are going to have to disagree. This is exactly what it should be. Brodie Lee is like as tall as a building. Orange Cassidy is a piece of fruit. So even though Brodie was waning on him for a long time, when we had that flurry towards the end and Orange Cassidy was going nuts, I started to get all pumped. I started to get excited again, like that Eddie Kingston promo. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe he's going to win. But he didn't. But if you had done it the other way around, I wouldn't have felt this way. So I do understand the disappointment, but also given the fact of what happened after this, I was alright with the whole shebang. The real issue for Cassidy too was that he forgot about pirates. Not really, but I have all these silly names for the Dark Order guys, and I'm gonna run it into the ground. Because Long John Silver, army mateys, he just jumped up on the apron at one point, meaning Orange had to get rid of him, and that just allowed Brodie Lee to get right back into control. He powerbombed Orange Cassidy, hit him with a massive discus lariat, got the 1, 2, 3, he is still your TNT champion. And he is your TNT champion, you gotta be in the cult. As soon as this was done though, all of a sudden the lights went out and this cool music started to play, and you were like, wait a minute, I recognize that theme, it's Cody's entrance, and here he was, he has returned, the man that almost got murdered by the leader of the Dark Order. He's undyed his hair, which I thought was really smart, because when you do make a return like this, you want to be able to establish that you are kind of a new character. Although the funniest comment I did see about this is that Brodie must have beaten the My Chemical Romance into him, but I disagree with it, even though I chuckled because I don't think it's right. I thought he looked cool, and then he just started to waylay all of the stupid cult when Brodie Lee just legged it. So what a coward and what a wuss he is. He then lost his rag because, my word, we cut back from a commercial break and he was being interviewed, and Brodie said, well, one, I'm the coward, he's the coward because he went and vanished leaving his brother to clean up his mess, and how did that go? And two, what kind of man is he anyway? Because he allows his partner, obviously Brandy Rhodes, to post thirst photos on Twitter. And I looked around and I was like, oh my gosh, I did not think we were gonna come here. We've gone from Call of Duty to talking about thirst photos. And then he said, I'm pretty sure she calls me daddy. For some reason, he then just got a dog collar from nowhere and said that he was desperate to put the dog collar around Cody's neck so they should have a dog collar match. I was kind of looking around like, that came out of nowhere. I searched my pockets, I searched a drawer. I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But there was just so much excitement here, I suppose. I was like, okay, cool. I'll watch Brodie Lee versus Cody in a dog collar match. And I think we may even be getting that next week. The point is, though, it felt like a big deal. And when things feel like a big deal, they also get it up. And then it was time to say happy birthday to Matt Hardy. Sad. No, we're not going to do that. But look, I love Matt Hardy. Many happy returns. He was out with Private Party though, and he made it very clear that after he was knocked silly last week with a baseball bat, he is 99% sure it was Chris Jericho. And I think we all believe it's Chris Jericho. The only person that doesn't is Chris Jericho, even though Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle then came out and he looked like a kid that was trying to steal a cookie, and then his mum comes in, he's like, I didn't want a cookie, even though his stupid hand is in the stupid jar. This enraged Hardy so much, I suppose, because he really wanted a sweet treat, that he threatened to beat up all of the Inner Circle before Private Party calmed him down, like, Matt, you're not cleared, it's a bad idea. And as a quick aside, Chris Jericho was great here. He was so funny. At one point, it's like nobody knows when Sammy Guevara is going to come back because of what you did, Matt. And then just on a whim went, actually, no, I lied. He's right here. And out came Guevara. Once again, I was laughing. The spin, of course, is that even though Matt Hardy isn't allowed to have a fight, I tell you who is, Mark Quinn, and he threatened to beat all of them up right now. But then Isaiah Cassidy also took the microphone and said, look, Chris Jericho, you and I, we're going to have a match next week, and you're going to be my Le Champion bitch. Because, you know, if you really want to get people riled up, you've got to use the word bitch in wrestling. I think that will be cool, and I've seen all the criticism. Was this the greatest promo we've ever seen in our lives? No. Do both Mark Quinn and Cassidy probably need a little bit more time on the mic? Yes. But isn't it nice that AEW actually allowed them to do this on their major show? Maybe you could double it up by doing more of this stuff on Dark. You have to allow people to swing or swim if they're going to get better. I ain't going to crap on it. This was all fine. It served its purpose. This also seemed to be the random episode of Dynamite 2. Usually AEW is really good at tying up these loose ends, but there was just so many strange things happening all evening. Because FTR and Tully Blanchard were in the ring, and all of a sudden Tully said, hey, you know how tag team world championship matches are usually an hour? Well, now I'm saying they're going to be 20 minutes because we've got a new audience who wants to see wrestling, so I'm going to cut them down and then they'll be shorter. I thought about this all morning. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Tully is now also the person that gets to pick Cash and Dax's challenges. I'm like, I thought that's why AEW had a ranking system, and why all of a sudden does this guy have all the power? What did I miss? I went back to that drawer. So look, let's be honest, we wouldn't let anybody else get away with this. You have to be able to justify the decisions that are happening, therefore it gets a down. It is being dubbed as a brush with greatness, so I suppose it's going to be like some sort of open challenge, and next week it is going to be FTR taking on SCU. But then they were throwing barbs at the best friends, who obviously had that amazing street fight 7 days ago. So they came out and they're like, look, we don't care that we're beaten up, we don't care that we're run down, we will take you on right now. And it looked like that's what we were going to do. But before that could happen, FTR got the microphone and said, oh, no, we've changed our minds. We don't think you're ready. Maybe give Tully a call in a couple of weeks. Why Tully? And he can set something up. Now, look, I do want to say this. FTR are a very effective bad guy tag team. I kind of really hate them. I want to see them get their comeuppance. But, you know, you look at this, you look at the segment a couple of weeks ago with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Something's just missing for me at the moment. Maybe it's because we're stalling, because all we really want to see is FTR versus the Bucks. They just my thoughts. Thunder Rosa was then teaming with Shida to take on the team of Ivelisse and Diamante. And this was like half parts good, but also half parts a little bit all over the place. The bad guys attacked the good guys when they were coming to the ring, just to let you know that they are a couple of asshats. And yeah, there were just so many weird little bits in this. Like at one point, Ivelisse tagged in, and then Diamante went from the pin. But then Ivelisse kind of stood there like, no, I should be making the pin. And the referee was doing circles like a dog chasing his tail. And I was like, I think we may have got a bit lost. Anywho, this did finish when Shida pinned Diamante after the Shining Wizard. I do want to go on record as saying that the AEW Women's Champion and Thunder Rosa are absolutely brilliant. I could watch them all day. But I would like to see Shida have more focused feuds. Like, you know, we do that with the World Champion for the men all the time, and it's great. Like, you go from one program to the next. Like, oh man, it's like bullets from a gun. We should do that for the women too. That's just my opinion. That's just how I feel. All this has scared it down. Backstage promo with Chris Jericho next, and you already know the deal. He both simultaneously ran down Cassidy from Private Party, but also built him up by saying, one day, pal, you're gonna be a big star. Then him and MJF did their whole I love you, I hate you routine, but it's good every time. It's really funny, and what I want to happen now is this. I want MJF to join the Inner Circle, work his way up to the top, screw over Chris Jericho, who then goes on a babyface run. Much like The Rock did back in like 98 or whatever with The Nation. That's what I want, and now I've thrown it out there, and we shall wait and see. It was then time for Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston for the AEW World Championship, and my word, did Eddie Kingston have a point to prove, and I think he did it successfully. It is getting it up. Because these two just ruined each other, and I mean ruined. After a little bit of wrestling in the ring, they were just brawling on the outside, and then we were seeing power drivers and power bombs, which almost took Eddie Kingston out until he got his foot on the ropes at the last minute, and he sold all this like he was dead. as stiff as a board, and I was a little bit worried. I almost rang his mum. And what a crazy ride it's been for Eddie in 2020, because in January, I doubt this was part of the plan, but now he has made his way to AEW, and we are just treating him, irony, irony, like a king. Because to finish, Jon Moxley applied that same bulldog choke that he had done to Brodie Lee, but did Eddie Kingston tap out? No. Did he submit? No. But the referee saw him go unconscious. He was like, well, I can't have you kill this man. So that's the end of the match. But just think how pissed off he's going to be now. He wasn't eliminated from the Battle Royal, as far as he's concerned. Now, he never actually lost in a world title match. This is a flipping screw job. As soon as this was done, Pentagon and Phoenix were out there trying to help out their friend before, of all people, Big Will Hobbs came out to make the save. And if you've been asking yourself the question, who has the best spine buster in 2020? The answer is Mr. Hobbs. He eventually got overwhelmed because of the numbers game, so Darby Allin came out with his skateboard, but that just pissed off Ricky Starks, who slammed him with a spear. There was a lot of carnage going on. Kingston then laid in a few more shots before all of these heels, bad guys, were standing tall, and I thought this was quite the moment on AEW Dynamite. They kind of felt like stars in the making, as long as we treat them right from this point on. I have no idea what we're going to do next week, but am I intrigued? You bet your ass. Not literally, you definitely need it. So was this the best episode of AEW Dynamite we have ever seen? No, it's not, but I thought they rolled with the punches they were thrown at the last minute very well, and they put out something that I would describe as solid. And solid things, get it up. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's of AEW Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling, including retro ups and downs for WrestleMania 17, 2 p.m. BST Friday. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching me as always. See you soon.